Hi and welcome to this episode. My name is Albek. I am an awarded photographer, I'm a photojournalist, and I shoot street photos. And especially street photos we will look in today. The contrast between shooting black and white and color. Is black and white still valid in a world of colors? I think it is, so let's dig into that. Welcome. First of all, be sure to subscribe to the channel. You can sign up below, hit the dot and sign up, and you can sign up for my newsletter so you get new informations about my world of photography and the workshops I do. So you're very welcome to sign up for that and explore the 2025 workshops where I also use this approach to photography, shooting in color or in black and white. And what is the big difference? I have two books here. I have one of my own and I have one from the Magnum Streetwise production here about street photography. And in here you will see a lot of black and white images, but you will also see some in color. And all of these photographers, from Henri Cartier-Bresson to others from Magnum, have a long history of photos shot in black and white, but you will occasionally see some in color as well. And what is the big difference? In my own book here, which was a book produced some years ago about the Danish prime ministers, I have chosen to both use black and white for some of the production, and then I have, if I can hit it, color photos. So you see here a lot of black and white because it has this documentary feeling. And that is one of the differences between black and white and color photography. It has different expressions and we have a different approach to them depending on how we look at it. And this is much about history. We have a history of black and white photos from the early years of the Magnum street photographers, where they started out with a Leica, like this one, just with film in it. They started to walk around the streets when they were on assignments, like Henri Cartier-Bresson did. He had assignments as a photojournalist, but he also did that street photography thing aside of that. And it was black and white at those times. That was the film you could get. That was what you were able to shoot in. So everything was thought in black and white. The color photo came much later. And then we got adapted to that, and in the modern world of today, where we have Instagram and we have Facebook and all of that, crap, I'm guilty at it myself, I post there as well. But color photos is kind of, when I talk with editors at the news station where I work, they want color photos because that's the real world, that's how we look at things. They say the reality is in color, and I'm sorry to say, my dear bosses, I couldn't disagree more. It's not about if it is in color or it is black or white. It is about the expression. Both a black and white photo and a color photo shows the same thing. It shows reality as it is framed, but the headline, the font you use, the adjectives you use when you write a sentence is exactly the same as choosing between two kinds of expressions, color or black and white in a photograph. It is the same. So let's get real here in 2025. You can make stunning street photography in black and white, and I shoot a lot of black and white, so that's what I talk about. So in between, when I see it, I go for a color image as well, because some images in colors are better than the black and white, and in other situations it's simply the black and white, the monochrome gray tones, that works best, that is more simple and most expressive. And that's about it. There's nothing else to it. It is about the emotions you want to express. It is about the situation and how you grasp it. And it is if it works best without colors, because colors can be distracting. Colors are expressive. Reds and greens and yellows take away the attention often from the very form of the image, you can say, where black and white is only form, gray tones, blacks and whites. So you see the shapes, you see the geometry, you see the structures much clearer. You see the expression on the face much clearer in black and white, with exceptions of course. And everything I say here is my personal view. It is my suggestions to you. It is not that you have to adapt it if you think some things should be different. Take it as inspiration and not a rule, but a guideline, an approach to photography. So follow me on that road if you like it, or make your own opinions based on what I tell you. It is meant as an inspiration and not as I sometimes think people, when they respond on the comments, it looks like I have said this is the only way to do. No, it isn't. We all have different approaches. And that's important because we are different people. We look at things differently. We look at colors differently. For red, the red color will be appealing for some and others will find it awful. The only thing we can say about red is that it is a color of warning. It is a color of emotion. It can even be erotic. In black and white, it's just all up to the form and the expression in the picture. Leaving colors out, you're only left with the form and the contrast, and that's what makes the picture. So when we photograph in the street, it is important to look at the street, at the images you have in your head. And I'm not talking about cameras here. The cameras is something we set aside here. It's all in your mind. It's all up in your head. When you photograph, it is what you see and what you want to express with your photo. And you have to, when you walk around as a street photographer, you have to be ahead of time. You have to know when that guy standing over there waiting for the green signal to cross the street, that maybe he will yawn, maybe he will look up in the sky. You have to be prepared for what is happening. It's too late afterwards. So street photography, if it is in color or is in black and white, is about being present in the moment, being ready to press the shutter button when it happens, not a little before, not a little after, but when it happens, and that changes the scenery. But when you look at the scenery, you have to think in either color or in black and white, depending on what you like to shoot. So I'm not the kind of guy that goes into the street and have a determined approach to what I'm going to do, that it have to be in black and white or it have to be in color. No, I keep myself open-minded. I look around, I wait to see what happens, and sometimes I shoot in color and sometimes I choose black and white. And I have set my Leica M9 here. This is the good old looking Leica M9. If you wonder if I have an ND filter on here, yes I have. And that's because I have just been shooting out in the sun. And the shutter speed on the Leica M9 only goes up to a 4,000 of a second, and that's not enough if I want to shoot wide open at 1.4 aperture, which I often do, to get that shallow depth of field. So that's why there is a 3ND filter out here to shut some light out, so I can keep it in the ratio I want with my shutter speed and aperture. That was a side note. My camera is set to shoot both in RAW and JPEG, so I have a RAW version, and then it doesn't matter if I shoot in the black and white or in monochrome, because the camera doesn't know. It just takes everything into the sensor, so the RAW file can be converted to black and white. Afterwards, I can use the full color scheme. I can even begin to mess around with the colors after I have introduced it to Lightroom. And when we're talking about Lightroom later this month, I will release a paid version of my Lightroom experiences, unboxing Lightroom with all my tips and tricks, all my editing and presets for you to use. So look out for that later this month. Then I have a JPEG black and white version set aside, so I both get a RAW picture and I get a JPEG in black and white, because in the Leica M9 often that JPEG is really good looking and can be used straight out of the camera. But else I recommend you use both shoot both in RAW and a JPEG version, or only RAW, so you're sure you have all the information you need in the file. so you can preserve highlights and shadows and adjust your picture afterwards for the best possible. But the main thing here is that when you're shooting, you have to look after if you are shooting color or black and white, because it's two different things. So you have to change your mindset all the time. If you find something with great colors, then you know when you hit the button, this will be a colorful photo or color photo afterwards, probably also colorful. And if it is not colorful, I always change it to black and white. There's no reason to reproduce dull colors. For what reason? When you remove them, your picture will come alive as a black and white photo with contrast and whites and gray tones and blacks. It will be more simple, it will be a clear form, and it will be a different picture than if it was shot in color. But color photos can be really impressive too, especially if you make use of repeating colors in the photo, or you have big color surfaces that makes the photo, and that photo might be very dull in black and white, but work absolutely great in the color version. And today we have a lot of cameras with a lot of presets. You can shoot JPEGs right out of the camera, or you can even reproduce them in Lightroom, and then you have a different expression in color. But that still demands, when you're making your photo, when you're shooting it with your camera, you have to think color when you do it, else it's not worth it. And if the picture is not worth it in black and white or in color, then it's not a good photo, then it's just boring. So think in colors, especially repeating colors in a photo if you shoot in color, and know that the colors are the dominant factor in the photograph. The balance of colors is the most important thing. If we look at the guy I shot in Paris in September on a workshop there, then I chose the color version. I also made a black and white version just to see it, but that simply died off. It was not interesting. But in the color version, you have all the blue colors repeating themselves: blue at his trousers, blue at the bottle, blue at the lamps and the surroundings. So that blue picture made the decision for that picture. And then we have another picture of a man sitting on a bench in Copenhagen in Denmark, framed by some metal construction and some glass, and I shot him through that. And that photo works because it's in black and white. We have some clear structures, clear lines, and we can easily see the form. Converted to color, yeah, it still works, but the black and white is much better, it's much clearer, it's much more impressive. So you have to look for lines and forms and contrast when you're shooting in black and white. And someone upon a time said that shooting people in colors will be shooting their clothes, not the soul. Shooting them in black and white will show the souls and not the clothes. So this is a very good remembrance to have, that if you want to present the soul of somebody, black and white will be the best. If you want to present their clothes, then shoot in color. So what to do in 2025, where we have all these possibilities? It was much easier in the old days, where we either picked up a black and white film to put in our camera, and that's it. We just had to go with the black and white images, like the old Magnum photographers. I could recommend reading books like this because it's a great inspiration. They had to shoot in black and white, and that was the universe, and then you learn to think this way. So if you want to train yourself to think black and white, then take a period out, exactly like I have mentioned before in an earlier video about the 50mm lens. Shoot with the same lens. It could be a 28mm, it could be a 35mm lens as well, but shoot with the same lens for some months, get used to it, so get it under your skin, and then you can begin to change. The same with color photography. If you are mostly shooting black and white monochrome pictures, then take some time off from that. Shoot color photos for a period, begin to look at colors, begins to sense them, get it under your skin, and then all of a sudden you will manage to begin to see colors. So if you join one of my workshops, and I have 5 lined up for 2025, we will look exactly into these subjects when we walk around, and I will teach you how to better understand color photography and distract it from black and white, and vice versa, the opposite, how to look for monochrome pictures when you're shooting and when to choose the color version. And all of that we will look into at the workshops. And when you get trained, as I have been shooting now for plus 37 years or something, so I'm used to swapping lenses, I'm used to swapping between black and white and color photography. I still have a love for the black and white, that classic look, but I also, when I can see it, go for the color photography, go for the color photos as well, because they can something else, they can something that black and white can't. Everything comes down to the emotion and, of course, the kind of person you are, what you like to shoot, what you see when you walk around. And remember that photography is what you see, how you look at the world, not necessarily how I look at the world, but how you look at the world, what you see, what you notice. So there's so many different ways of looking at street photography and different genres, and we'll take that up in one of the next episodes. What kind of genres are there? What kind of versions are there? What kind of street photography can you do? But first of all, concentrate on black and white or color photos. And it's a good idea to begin to look at photographers where you like their style of photography. Try to look at them, analyze what they have done, how they balance the colors, what kind of framing they're doing, what kind of lens and camera they're using. Cameras and lenses are not the most important, but the most important is how you look at things and see how they looked at things. Why did they choose black and white there? Why didn't they? Why did they choose a color photo in this situation, and why didn't they in other situations? All of that is a really good training for your eye, and then begin to explore it yourself. Go out and shoot and do it regularly, get a habit, and then break that habit and try to swap and see what happens. And sometimes you may end up with, I only want to shoot black and white, or I only want to shoot color photos. That's up to you what your taste is at the end. When we look at Instagram accounts, for example, you will see a lot of photographers only shooting the same style all the time. You will only see black and whites, or you will only see color photos on their page when you visit their site. But I try to avoid that. I want to switch between color photos and black and whites when it suits me, when it suits the photo. That's the most important thing. And I'm totally open-minded when I walk the street. I'm not going for something specific. I look around. What fascinates me, I will capture on the photo. I will take a decision if it should be black and white or color, and sometimes I can swap that when I come home. Because suddenly it shows that the colors were better than I actually thought they were when I was shooting, depending on the light and the situation and the image, what is presented in the image. And at other times it is very convincing when you do it, and you can aim for that in the situation and not afterwards, which always will be the best. But sometimes you get surprised when you can come home and upload your files and begin to run through them and see, okay, here was an image that actually was better in monochrome than in color, or the other way around. That happens. So for 2025, take a decision, swap between colors and monochrome, and I don't say what is the best, because there's no answer to that. It is simply what works best in the situation, and especially what you see as a photographer, or what I see with my camera. So I hope this inspired you to try a little more than just shooting in one style. Try and see what that does to your photography, and thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and the newsletter, and thank you for being here.